So, a few days ago, I made a video talking about how to make the best bowl of ramen. And as most of you know, that was clickbait. But that ended up with me getting a lot of things like this saying, hey, this looked like it was going to be going through theoretical secrets to the perfect bowl of ramen, but I guess not. This guy was right, though. He didn't have any malicious intent. I had malicious intent. I was clickbait. Let's be real. It's dodgy. It happens. But today I'm going to make good on it. Hi, I'm Faye, and this is how we plan for Japan. And today we're not actually planning for Japan. We're talking about how to actually make a good bowl of ramen and what that entails. We're not actually going to be making one today because this is not a kitchen. But if this does well, we might migrate my shit into the kitchen and actually cook up a bowl. So we are going to move straight on to my bullshit. We're going to have a look at the 5 aspects, which are starting with tare. Tare is a weird thing. If you've ever got an instant ramen, the thing that looks like a thick, gooey soy sauce, that's your tare. And we're all doing it wrong. So the way you should be adding your tare in is you put it on the bottom of the bowl and then add your broth on top. And as that mixes together, it'll add to the flavor a lot better than it will if you actually just chuck it in the pot or mix it through the noodles. Also, if you're making instant ramen and not giving yourself broth, do better. But it essentially acts like MSG because most ramens will actually be rather unsalted. And this will actually help build out your salty umami profile to your meal and bolster something shocking. The second thing we're going to bring up is the broth. So there are many different kinds of broths you can make. Literally hundreds. There's at least one for every ramen joint in all of Japan. But most of them are broken down into 4 categories: shio, shoyu, miso, or my personal favorite, tonkotsu. So first up, shio is the traditional Japanese ramen. Specifically, it's the traditional Chinese ramen that Japan kind of stole, because ramen is actually a Chinese dish originally, but the Japanese version originated in Hokkaido, and this is somewhere in the 1800s. We're not entirely sure exactly when, but it is sea salt based. Shio literally translates to salt, and you'll be able to tell if you've got it if you can see all the way to the bottom and your broth is slightly yellow. That's a shio base. Next up is miso. Sorry, I skipped one. Next up is shoyu. Shoyu is a soy sauce base and has a similar appearance to the shio, but instead of being yellowy color, it'll end up almost looking like watered down soy sauce. It's also the one that tends to have the most variety to it, because most chefs tend to like to put their own spin into it and add extra things into it while they're making it. This can range from dried seafood to dried mushrooms and even different kinds of meat. Mostly chicken if they're going to add meat to it, though. Miso. So miso is a paste which is made by fermenting soybeans with a fungus called koji, which honestly I didn't know. And it gives a strong umami flavor, but not a meaty umami flavor, because miso is vegetable based. It does not taste like meat. It actually tastes a little bit nutty. This is also the only one where we actually know where it came from, coming from a restaurant called Aji no Sanbai in Sapporo in the 50s. So this is also the youngest of the 4 main varieties of ramen. The last and my personal favorite is tonkotsu. Tonkotsu literally translates to pork bone, and it takes the longest to prep because it takes up to 18 hours. Most chefs recommend at least 14 hours of simmering down the stock that comes from the bone broth. It also looks the most different because the others all look relatively clear and varying levels of like just straight water with color to it. Tonkotsu ends up looking like it's almost creamy. Uh, it also has a higher viscosity most of the time than the other broth, so it'll end up coating both your mouth and your noodles unlike anything else. Which brings us to part three, the noodles. So ramen noodles are meant to all be the same, apart from shape. They all have the same ingredients, the same chemical makeup, because the thing that makes ramen is a alkali liquid called kansui, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, but kansui isn't even a Japanese word; it's a Chinese word because kansui was brought over with the original ramen, and it's a crystal that is made up of sodium carbonate and potassium carbonate, both of which are usually used in cooking because uh, sodium carbonate is a, it's used in a fair few different kinds of baking sodas and washing sodas because there's a lot of crossover between cooking and cleaning. And potassium carbonate is used in a process called Dutching, which is used to make Dutch chocolates. Well, Dutch cocoa at the very least. These things combine together to give your noodles that really nice bounciness and chewiness, and also that slightly yellow color. I forgot I was meant to have visual aids for all of these things. So there's your tare. There's your different kinds of broths, with me being over the top of the tonkotsu. Here's your ramen noodles as opposed to hiyamugi and soba noodles. And next we have aromatic oils. So this specifically is a chicken oil that you can see in front of you. But aromatic oils are the part that most people just don't pay attention to. Aromatic oils are also put at the bottom of the bowl with the tare before your broth is added. And it's hard to explain aromatic oils without sounding like a pretentious douche. But think of it like, especially for your meaty ramen, or your meaty broths like your tonkotsu, that's a very overpowering smell more than anything else. And your aromatic oils, which most commonly are things like garlics and gingers and something else, scallions or like chives, things of that nature. We put aromatic oils like those into the food because it helps cut down that smell. It doesn't get rid of it altogether, but when you have a little bit of like a subtle note in there, it helps bring down that flavor and make it build into more of a symphony of smells. It's great. But last up is your toppings. And your toppings can literally be anything you want. Personally, and this is a weird thing, I like chicken thigh. It has to be deboned and you leave it in the fridge uncovered for a day, which helps the skin dry out. And when you fry it, it gets that really nice crispiness to it because the crispiness of that helps give you a differentiation in textures to the rest of the meat and the noodles and anything else. But most commonly, we get things like pork. We get almost every bowl of ramen will have an egg in some description. You get seaweed on most of them, but also things like scallion, things like dried onion, bonito, which is your fish flakes, which is weird because fish flakes are also fish food in the show. But those are all of your parts. Now for the big question: what makes the best bowl of ramen? What makes the perfect bowl of ramen? And unfortunately, that's subjective because everyone's going to enjoy different things. Myself, I'm going to get a tonkotsu. I'm going to use garlic as my aromatic, and if possible, I'm going to fry it into that chicken too. We're going to put that chicken thigh over the top, and I'll be honest, I know how much the boiled egg is like a staple of ramen. I want a fried egg on top. It's been fried possibly over easy, but if you constantly keep it moving, you can get the entire thing to go white and cook the white and have the yolk completely raw. Best way to do it. And yeah, if you guys like this, I might show you how I make it. But that's all the time we've got today. If you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. Oh, right, there's our topics. Give us a thumbs up and let me know what you want on top of your ramen. But hey, I've been Faye, you've been awesome, I'll see you all tomorrow.